Welcome to the annual Integrity Awards ceremony of the Coalition for Integrity. I am Lucinda Lowe, Vice Chair of the Coalition and the acting chair of this organization, while our chairman, Al Larson, is on leave. Al worked tirelessly on this event, and his presence is missed tonight. This year, what is normally a dinner where we bring together the anti-corruption community from around the world is, like many things, taking place virtually. We will miss the opportunity to mingle and share stories and development. But the issues we are focused on, transparency, accountability, integrity, in both the public and private sectors, the issues on which we will be focused tonight, are not virtual, but very real, and more important now than ever. Tonight, on the eve of International Anti-Corruption Day around the world, our particular theme is integrity in public service. We will be making an individual award that reflects that theme and underscores just how vital integrity in public service is to the rule of law, the functioning of democratic institutions, and the public trust. We will also be making a corporate leadership award that reflects our continued conviction that preventive efforts in the private sector are an essential complement to public sector measures. But while essential, they are not easy, but require sustained commitment and should be recognized. And of course, the third leg of the stool is civil society, of which this coalition is a member, playing an essential role in highlighting issues, sharing information, mobilizing resources, tracking progress, and bringing us together as a community. Our coming together for these awards is, for me, always one of the most inspiring events of the year. Our past awardees have made a real difference in the world, whether it is the efforts of James Wolfenson, whose recent death I sadly note, to bring anti-corruption consciousness to the work of the World Bank, Paul Volcker and the Oil for Food program, or others, public and private. I hope it is inspiring for you as well. I would like to thank all of our sponsors whose support has made this event possible. And in the resources tab on the right side where you signed up, you will see the program brochure. First, let me thank our leadership sponsor, Procter Gamble. Next, our premier sponsors, FedEx, Bechtel, Covington, Skadden, and Sherman & Sterling. And our additional sponsors, Baker & McKenzie, BDO, Cognizant, Freeport-McMoran, Guidehouse, Hogan Lovells U.S. LLP, Mayer Brown, Raytheon, Steptoe & Johnson LLP, the Lodestar Foundation, and last but not least, Weil Gotshal & Manges LLP. We thank you all for your support and for your commitment to this shared cause. I would also like to thank Covington for its help with this platform and the event more generally. We could not have done it without you. And finally, I would like to thank all of you for joining us. If this is your first award ceremony, I hope it will not be your last. The resource page has additional information about the coalition, and we would welcome the opportunity to get you more involved. It is now my great pleasure to introduce the President and CEO of the Coalition for Integrity, the dynamic Shruti Shah. Shruti has worked tirelessly over the past year to advance the work of the coalition. Last year at this event, our Integrity Award highlighted the issue of beneficial ownership transparency. This is an issue that Shruti has been deeply involved in for several years and was really in the vanguard of identifying as a significant barrier to transparency and accountability, both domestically and internationally. I'm happy to say that we appear at this juncture poised to close a major loophole in the U.S. legal system in relation to this issue, work on which has brought business, law enforcement, and other constituencies together. Shruti is also the vision and driving force behind the Swamp Index, an update to which was just recently released by the coalition. This index, as I'm sure she'll talk about further, highlights the gaps and deficiencies in the ethics regimes of our states of the United States, including some that are very close to home for us in the Washington, D.C. area. It reflects our increasing focus as an organization on issues of domestic corruption in the United States, alongside our continued work in the international arena. Shruti brings vision, passion, and commitment to the work of our organization. On behalf of the Board of Directors, thank you, Shruti, for everything you have done and will do, and I turn the podium and the program over to you.
Thank you so much, Lucinda, for that really very, very kind introduction. And good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for supporting the 2020 Integrity Awards. I'd also like to thank my team here at the Coalition, which has worked so tirelessly on our program in this really difficult and trying year. This is the most unusual format that this event has ever taken place in. But given the times that we are in and the state of our society, it has never been more important to highlight the importance of integrity in public service. The COVID-19 pandemic has refocused all of our attention on the intangible characteristics that we all have the opportunity to show and which bring light to our society: kindness, compassion, honesty, and yes, integrity. In times of great public crisis, it is important to redouble our efforts at our mission. In the words of former Senator Alan Simpson, if you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. The demands and revelations of this pandemic have not been limited to individual integrity. The federal government has played a far greater role than ever before. And the American people have been asked to make almost unprecedented sacrifices. People have lost their lives. Businesses have been forced to close without knowing if and when they'll reopen. Workers have been furloughed, and some have been laid off permanently. And life celebrations such as weddings, birthdays, graduations, and even funerals have either been suspended, canceled, or celebrated in an almost unrecognizable manner. The government has to honor the sacrifice of the American people with full transparency and a commitment to public good. We are so pleased today to honor Dr. Anthony Fauci for demonstrating credibility and trust at a time when it's so desperately needed. The other area where the federal government has made its mark is through the large economic stimulus package, which, by the way, is the largest stimulus package in US history, $2.7 trillion and counting. That alone accounts to about 3/4 of our tax revenue this year. And Congress is negotiating a much needed relief package again as we speak. Given the staggering sums of money involved and the potential for fraud, waste, and abuse, it has been so important that individuals at government agencies who administer these programs, officials at banks who are giving out loans, and really people at companies who are accepting federal help display the highest levels of ethics and integrity. But individual integrity is not enough. People are fallible, which is why we need full transparency and strong oversight. And these safeguards can take many forms, which we have discussed in a paper we released earlier this year, titled "Oversight is Better Than Hindsight," where we looked at the oversight provisions of the economic stimulus, and we proposed recommendations to improve oversight. Some of our recommendations included increasing the amount laid out for oversight, increasing transparency of the recipients of federal funds, actually also increasing the term of the Special Inspector General, including for-cause removal protections for inspectors general, those really responsible for oversight, and also including stronger whistleblower protections. I mean, we all think these are tremendously important, especially as Congress is talking about negotiating another package. Now, legal safeguards at promoting ethics and integrity are not limited to the federal government. While the federal government is the most vital and visible in the response to the pandemic, decisions made at the state level and at the local level are ones that have the most direct and intimate impact on our lives, which is why we are continuing our focus on state level ethics and integrity and transparency for the third year in running. As Lucinda mentioned, we just issued our SWAMP Index, the second edition of which just came out in November, which highlights the gaps in state ethics and transparency laws. Now, to be fair, some states have actually shown an improvement. North Dakota and New Mexico, for example, did not have an ethics agency in 2018, and now they have operational ethics agencies. But no state has a perfect score. There is not one state that scores about 80. In fact, 35 states scored below 60, which is a failing grade. The majority of states do not accept anonymous complaints, the state ethics agencies, nor do they keep the names of the complainants confidential. Virginia, where I live, is still a work in progress. Its ethics agencies do not have the power to investigate or sanction wrongdoing. They are strictly advice only. Now, the government has played an enormous role in our lives and in this health crisis, but the private sector also has a role to play. One unfortunate effect of the declining trust in government is that employees now believe their employers more, even when it comes to information about the virus. Businesses have to operate with honesty and transparency when it comes to their employees. Holding a position of trust, which is higher than that of the government, is a responsibility with demands that businesses rise to the occasion. In our interconnected world, the private sector cannot separate its actions from its effect on broader society. If we are to be successful in our mission of rooting out international corruption, it'll take strong partnerships across all sectors, including the private sector, to achieve our goal. As John Donne famously observed, no man is an island, and the same holds true for our fight against corruption. We must all work together to see meaningful progress. It is our great pleasure to offer the Corporate Leadership Award this year to the Procter Gamble company for showing leadership in anti-corruption standards and in corporate social responsibility. Let me close with this. We recently celebrated Thanksgiving, and where we had time to reflect on our many blessings and remember what is truly important. This year, Thanksgiving brought a renewed focus on this. This year has seen our patience and resilience tested. I know mine has been. And many of us have suffered difficult trials, and many of us have also suffered tragic loss. Let us always remember and not lose sight of what is truly important. Living a life of service, trying to act with integrity in every facet of our lives, and always trying to improve the lives of those we touch. With your support and efforts, and all of us working together, maybe we can get a little bit closer towards achieving that goal. Thank you so much for your time and for your support for all our work at the Coalition. We'll watch a short video on our work this evening, and we will proceed to the award ceremony. Thank you again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Friedman. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Coalition.
Thank you, Mr. Hirschman, for that
Navigating the multitude of ethical challenges from operating a business that reaches people all over the world while maintaining an unrelenting commitment to good governance and improving lives is no small accomplishment. It is with great pleasure that I am presenting the Coalition for Integrity's 2020 Corporate Leadership Award to a company that has set the standard for successfully navigating these challenges and accomplished so much for societies everywhere, Procter Gamble. Procter Gamble's products are improving lives around the globe. Nearly 5 billion people every day are enjoying Procter Gamble's leading and trusted brands for health, personal hygiene, and household cleaning. During the pandemic, they stepped up and manufactured masks, face shields, and hand sanitizers to share with hospitals, healthcare facilities, and relief organizations, while also continuing to deliver essential health, hygiene, and cleaning products to their customers around the world. Procter & Gamble has extremely high standards for ethics and anti-corruption programs, including programs that ensure their employees fully understand not just the legal cost of bribery, but also the human cost and the terrible impact it has on societies. They are paving the way in the corporate fight against bribery. Chief legal officers are often at the heart of a company's efforts on anti-corruption and good citizenship, and that's certainly true for Procter & Gamble. So I'm very glad that their Chief Legal Officer, Deborah Majoras, is with us tonight to accept this award on their behalf. Debbie, congratulations from the Coalition and all of our virtual attendees tonight on receiving the 2020 Corporate Leadership Award.
Thank you, Paul, for your kind remarks. On behalf of the nearly 100,000 employees of the Procter & Gamble Company and our Board of Directors, I am honored to accept the Coalition for Integrity's 2020 Corporate Leadership Award. We congratulate Dr. Anthony Fauci on receiving the Integrity Award, and we thank him for his leadership and impactful contributions as he has worked to battle this pandemic. Every day, P&G must work to earn the trust of nearly 8 billion consumers around the world whom we serve with our brands and support in our communities. With sales into 180 countries, physical operations in 70, and 140 nationalities represented among our employees, we must have a strong foundation to unite and guide us. In the mid-1800s, our co-founder, James Gamble, set the tone for generations when he said, "If you cannot make pure goods and full weight, go to something else that is honest, even if it is breaking stone." And for decades, our purpose, values, and principles, which we call our PVPs, have served to define who we are. Our purpose is to improve consumers' lives in small but meaningful ways. And our 5 values, which include integrity and trust, shape how we work together and with our partners. And then to bring those to life, our principles articulate our deliberate approach to conducting work every day. We know that P&G employees believe in the personal and business value of the PVPs because every year in our employee survey, the PVPs are cited as the #1 aspect of our company that employees would not change, more than the rest of the referenced aspects combined. But the fact is that integrity is not an inherent trait, and it can't be taken for granted. It's a choice and a set of actions that bring that choice to life. Ask anyone if they have integrity, and most undoubtedly will say yes. But if everybody really chose to act with integrity, we would have no need to fight for it, as this coalition does. At P&G, we don't pretend to be perfect. And indeed, as the CLO for the company, I ask our leaders and all other employees to approach the subjects of ethics and compliance with humility and hard work, a humility that reminds us that as human beings, especially under pressure, we all have the capacity to start down the slippery slope. So rather than telling ourselves that we have integrity and so naturally we will always do the right thing, we need to actively choose to act with integrity and then work hard to seek out the right thing to do each and every day. It's like a muscle. We can build it or let it get flabby. And if it's the latter, there comes a point where we no longer want to look in the mirror. Building these muscles company-wide to battle corruption is essential. It cannot just be viewed as a US or a Cincinnati-based priority, that those in remote parts of the world who are not supported all the time by the large groups of colleagues we have surrounding us at headquarters indulge us on, while really believing that we just don't get it. Our people, particularly on the front lines in areas like customs, need to have muscle memory so that they can automatically resist the pressure that comes from corrupt officials and know that we will support them, even if the delivery of our goods, for example, is held up. To build that strong resistance, we go beyond just legal training to help our local employees understand the very human and community tolls that corruption exacts, as Paul said. Some years ago, I was meeting with two young female lawyers based in a Central Asian country. They told me that I was an inspiration to them, to which I responded, I am an inspiration to you. I have the advantage of working in a legal system that largely works, and I don't generally worry that someone is bribing the judge in my case. No, you are the inspiration for me, working on the front lines to uphold not only the company's PVPs, but the very rule of law itself. As Paul mentioned, P&G seeks to go beyond being a force for growth in our business to also being a force for good. Being a strong corporate citizen requires us to take responsibility to help address societal issues, including equality, environmental sustainability, natural disasters. And the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 put the exclamation point on the push for corporations to appropriately work with governments and other stakeholders to address the complex and varied issues faced by the world's people. But working to improve the lives of citizens in the countries in which we operate also has a positive impact on our relationships with national and local governments, which I believe in turn helps fight corruption, especially with senior officials. When they understand that we are investing in people and communities, we build trust and the tone changes for the better. Never before has trust and integrity been so crucial or the stakes so high. But recent events have even further shaken our trust foundations. SAI Global's 2019 Reputational Trust Index shows that the modern consumer very much cares about the values and conduct of the company behind the brands and is well-informed, engaged, and willing to put hard-earned dollars toward companies and products that align with their values. And this is interesting. Whereas some business leaders think of trust in business transactionally, meaning customer service, product delivery, consumers are thinking about it from the perspective of values and actions. When asked why they do not trust some businesses, they cited issues such as corruption and fraud, as well as fairness and equality. Producing great products and services and positively impacting societies and the physical environment are inadequate without strong ethics and compliance. Beyond the importance of building trust in an individual corporation, the fact is that people's trust in the integrity of all institutions, public and non-public, is critical to maintaining cohesiveness and participation in our societies. Each and every organization has a personal impact on how individuals view the strength and credibility of society's institutions and how those individuals will engage or retreat. We must be conscious of this fragility and stop the erosion in trust. We at Procter agree with the Coalition for Integrity that the business community must continue to work to restore and maintain confidence. And we thank the Coalition for keeping anti-corruption efforts at the heart of the work. Thank you very much.
Well done, Deborah, and congratulations to P&G for an award well-deserved. I'm Michael Hirschman, a member of the Board of Directors of the Coalition for Integrity, and also the chair of the Awards Committee. And this year, the Coalition for Integrity is honored to present the Award for Integrity in Public Service to Dr. Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Dr. Fauci has served as a physician for more than 50 years, the last 36 of which have been with the National Institute. He's advised presidents from both political parties, his long career having placed him at the epicenter of numerous public health crises, including the HIV/AIDS epidemic, the swine flu pandemic, and the Ebola outbreak, and now, of course, the ongoing COVID-19 tragedy. Dr. Fauci, a Brooklyn native, as am I, and I want to assure you all that had nothing to do with our award being given to Dr. Fauci tonight, but Dr. Fauci has become the face of leadership and integrity in our time of crisis. His commitment to honesty, to service under almost unimaginable pressure is a godsend in these uncertain times. But when it comes to Dr. Fauci, this shouldn't surprise anyone. After all, during the Ebola outbreak, he personally treated an infected patient, saying at the time that he did not want to ask his staff to do anything he wouldn't do himself. And now he's leading or helping to lead this fight against COVID. Times of great crisis, great demand, great commitment, and great credibility. No easy task in this time of immense divisions within our country. To say that trust in government has eroded is probably an understatement. Early on in the crisis, when public knowledge of COVID and its effects were uncertain, when panic was increasing, a man stepped forward to explain, to assure, to caution. That man, of course, was the inimitable Dr. Fauci. And so it's my pleasure on behalf of the Coalition for Integrity to present our annual Integrity Award to Dr. Fauci. And Dr. Fauci, as an aside, I want to say that the process of choosing an individual to bestow this award on is cumbersome. It's difficult. There are a lot of well-deserving individuals out there. But this year, for the first time, from the very beginning of our committee's work, there was only one choice, and that choice was you. And so I present to you all Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Thank you, Mr. Hirschman, for that very kind introduction, and let me express my deep gratitude for this recognition. It is truly an honor to be recognized with the 2020 Special Award for Integrity in Public Service by the Coalition for Integrity. An early influence on my decision to become a physician scientist was my experience as a young boy delivering prescriptions for my father, a pharmacist known back in the 1940s and 50s as Doc to our Brooklyn neighbors. I also had the good fortune to receive a Jesuit education, and I happily immersed myself in its intellectual rigor, but in addition, took to heart its emphasis on social justice and service to others. Both influences helped motivate me towards a career combining science, medicine, and public service at the National Institutes of Health. As a physician scientist and public health leader, I have fought outbreaks of infectious diseases for decades, going back to the emergence of HIV in 1981, through the anthrax attacks, SARS, pandemic flu, Ebola, Zika, and now COVID-19. Whenever we are faced with a formidable enemy, especially one invisible to the naked eye, like SARS-CoV-2, we need to pull together as a nation. We must recognize the novel pathogen as our mutual enemy, commit to all of us being in the fight together, and in all we do, be guided by the data and science-based evidence. Based on my experience as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases for the past 36 years, let me share a few insights regarding our responsibility as public servants to act and lead according to the highest principles of integrity, especially when facing a national public health crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic is the gravest threat to global health in more than 100 years. Here in the United States, as we contend with the cooler weather of fall and winter, the pandemic is on a perilously upward trajectory. Tragically, the daily numbers of COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations are eclipsing records set last spring, and at least one person is dying from COVID-19 every minute. Across the country, hospitals and healthcare staff are overtaxed, businesses are being disrupted, and the sickness and deaths caused by COVID-19 are causing widespread heartache and grief. In facing this national crisis, first among our guiding principles is fidelity to the truth, especially those truths revealed by science-based evidence and data. The public needs to hear the truth as it is, rather than as they might want it to be. Over time, truth-telling builds credibility, and credibility is essential to effective leadership. So we must always tell the truth, even if it means saying, "I do not know." Through consistent truth-telling, we maintain our integrity. Second, transparency also is key. From past outbreaks, we know that we must earn public trust and then work twice as hard to keep it. Earning public trust requires us to be open and honest. We must make sure that everyone understands where we are going, what is the goal, and how we are going to get there. We must keep our eyes on our objectives, provide regular public updates, and lead by example. When we falter in transparency, understandably, some people may either stop believing what we say or stop listening altogether. Third, we must communicate clearly to achieve understanding. Throughout my career, I have always been guided by the tenet, precision of thought and economy of expression, which has informed how I think, how I write, and how I communicate with the public. We must use language that everyone can understand, and it is crucial today that we extend our accessibility to a broad spectrum of audiences via the variety of outlets through which people get their information, including traditional media and social media, among others. Finally, we must demonstrate compassion for those affected and protect the vulnerable. We are all in this together, and to prevail, we all must pull together for the common good. Putting these principles into practice is essential to building public trust in science as the pathway to resolving the COVID-19 pandemic and ensuring that the fruits of our research, such as vaccines, realize their greatest potential benefit. The rapid pace of scientific progress on COVID-19 countermeasures is extremely heartening. Recently, data from large-scale clinical trials of 2 candidate COVID-19 vaccines indicate that they are safe and remarkable. Both are about 95% effective. Never has a vaccine been made in so short a time. This rapid pace compromised neither safety nor scientific integrity. Rather, it reflects extraordinary scientific advances that allowed us to accomplish in months what previously had taken years. The vaccine development community has taken several steps to enhance public trust in its activities. Standard practice for large-scale clinical efficacy trials requires that independent data and safety monitoring boards review clinical trial data intermittently to identify any concerns related to the safety or the performance of the vaccines. To enhance public confidence, companies have gone one step further and share their clinical trial protocols publicly. The FDA has made master protocols public, explaining how it will evaluate the safety and efficacy of SARS-CoV-2 vaccines and has shared its criteria for determining approval that might occur under an emergency use authorization. These evaluations will be made by independent FDA career scientists beholden to no one, and before any type of approval occurs, the data will be discussed in a public meeting of the Vaccine and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee, an outside advisory group to the FDA. The FDA Commissioner has pledged publicly to abide by the advice of the independent career scientists and the advisory committee. Finally, a determination of how the vaccinations will be prioritized among different population groups will be made by the CDC upon advice from the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, or ACIP, before final guidance is issued. Vaccinations for high priority groups may, if all goes well, begin as early as mid-December. Yet COVID-19 vaccines by themselves will not be a magic solution. Until we reduce community spread of the coronavirus to a low, manageable level, we still must adhere to simple public health measures, such as universal masking, physical distancing, and avoiding crowds, to enable us to keep the pandemic contained. Once approved, however, vaccines will be a powerful tool to help us protect the vulnerable and gradually quell and eventually end the COVID-19 pandemic, and thus begin to heal and restore our upended lives. So let me say again how grateful I am to be honored by the Coalition for Integrity, and I hope you will take heart in knowing that many independent eyes are on the COVID-19 vaccine development process at every step along the way. Please stay safe, keep well, and continue your important and outstanding work.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lanny Brewer, and I'm on the board of the Coalition for Integrity. I'm honored today to make some closing remarks in this great event, in our annual event. Let me begin by congratulating Procter Gamble. As the chief legal officer said, to act with integrity as a corporation means you must institutionalize it. It is a choice that you make. You devote resources, you devote time and commitment, and we all know what Procter & Gamble does throughout the world. It provides services and products that make our lives better, and it does so in an honest way with integrity, devoting money, resources, and much time to that effort. Congratulations. And of course, hearing from Dr. Fauci is truly inspiring. Michael is totally right about that. And I say that though I don't come from Brooklyn, I come from Queens. As we all know, Dr. Fauci has committed his entire life to serving the public good. He's done this, of course, by being a brilliant doctor. Public health, as he just told us, has been his life's mission. In studying and grappling with some of the most intractable diseases for decades, Dr. Fauci has proved time and again that he and his team will deal with what were unsolvable problems. And they apply, and he applies an intense curiosity. He talked about his Jesuit education, an unflappable commitment to the facts and science, and a willingness as a leader of his team to speak truth to the American people. For that, he deserves our recognition and praise. Dr. Fauci is a shining example of what public officials can do to better all our lives. He is today perhaps the most famous example of what exemplary public health officials do each day to serve our people, to serve our country, often at very great personal sacrifice to themselves. These public servants do what they do for love of country. Dr. Fauci is a towering example of someone who has devoted his life for the benefit of all our well-being. For that, thank you, Doctor. Dr. Fauci and other exemplary public servants can reach their highest potential in an environment that respects and promotes honesty and transparency. They can contribute most in a society that respects facts and openness. They do their best and can serve the most when we as a people do not condone corruption and when we welcome sunshine on our decision-making. I had the privilege of serving as the Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division under President Obama and Attorney General Holder. I served in that role for 4 years, a period longer than anyone had served in that job for more than 50 years. I can say to all of you this evening that not once during my tenure was I ever asked to do something that I thought was ethically questionable. We investigated and eventually brought cases based on the facts, based on the provable facts and the law, and nothing else. Our only mission was to promote justice. During my tenure, fighting corruption was a major focus. On the domestic front, our public integrity section brought cases all over the country and at every level of government. Party affiliation and powerful connections made no difference. If we learned of corruption, we pursued such matters without fear or favor. On the international stage, we investigated and brought more Foreign Corrupt Practices Act cases than ever before. And I am proud that we started a kleptocracy initiative to sue civilly foreign officials who stole from their citizens and tried to park their ill-gotten gains in the United States. Our efforts struck a chord with young and idealistic lawyers. And so we were able to recruit the best and the brightest. All these efforts and more were directed at promoting honesty in government, transparency in decision-making, and empowering civil servants to make decisions based on the merits and their best judgments, and not on personal gain or other corrupt motives. Corruption subverts the foundations of a society. Corruption erodes our confidence in public institutions. And perhaps most insidiously, corruption robs young people of their hopes and dreams. We are at a vulnerable time in our nation. We all must do what we can to promote good government and to fight forces, no matter how powerful and well-known, that promote false narratives for their personal benefit. We need people to have confidence their government is committed to truth, fairness, and decency. In other words, we need more Dr. Faucis, public servants who are committed to giving their all and then telling the public the truth about the results. The Coalition for Integrity plays a meaningful role in this crucial effort. And so I'm proud tonight to thank you all on behalf of the board. Thank you all for joining us. Please, everyone, be safe and well. Thank you and good evening.